All right, hey guys, Kid here, Burn One Shadowverse Evolved channel, bringing you Haven set review, Paragon of the Colosseum. I don't know if I've even said that name in the prior videos or anything. I'm joined with my good buddy here, Paresha. You want to say hi?
Howdy. Yeah, I only think of this as Ultimate Coliseum. That's off of the I forgot Paragon. What's a
Yeah.
Paragon?
All right, and unfortunately, Shepard is not here. He's off away being a human and touching grass, unlike us right now. So we're
Justice
gonna
for Prussia won, I guess.
yeah, we banished him to go touch grass because he lied about the poll results. He was trying to pull insurrection
Yeah,
there or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's get into this Haven set review really quick. Here is our rating key. If this is the first time you're joining us, this is how we kind of rate all the cards. I mean, sometimes we go off the beaten path and might say something different than what this is, but generally, this is what we kind of rate the cards S to F, so forth. So make sure to take a quick look at that. Otherwise, we're hopping into this first card here. We got a 5-drop 4/5 Wilbert Grand Knight Ward. While this card is on your field, whenever a follower with Ward leaves your field and is sent to your cemetery, deal 1 damage to each enemy leader. Fanfare, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may put a follower with Ward that originally costs 5 or less play points with a different name than this card from among them onto your field. Put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. So one thing to note is this is the set they really push like the Ward Haven archetype. There's definitely a lot of stuff that benefits Ward, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I'm glad that Haven is getting some like more unique deck archetypes compared to the other classes. I feel like out of all the classes other than Abyss, Haven has also been like lost in this limbo of like where does it really want to go, because it's been like this aggro Fable deck for quite a while now, and then I think a lot of people in the beginning identified Haven as being more of a control archetype, and we never like outside of the first few sets, it like slowly turned into something else completely, and we no longer have like a control deck really.
Yeah.
This kind of brings it back home, I think, for like the archetype, what more people expecting it. Personally, I think this card is really cool. I don't know how powerful it is because I haven't actually looked into strictly Wardhaven a ton, but what's really nice about this card is you get really good value, or at least you should be building in a way that builds value that will also, slowly ping out your opponent a little bit as well. I generally like this card. I don't think it's going to be like the most like broken card, but it's. I think if you're building Wardhaven, you have to highly consider this card. What about you?
I think Wardhaven is a really big dark horse in this meta. I think it's the type of deck where if we had like 4 to 5 months in a meta, we'd be able to figure this deck out like pretty well. I think the main thing of this deck is that, hey, you're going to be able to counter, most aggro strategies, and you're going to have a good chance against fairies just because they just have to get through your stuff, right, to hit you. But of course, you just have no shot against Kuwan. And so if we had a long meta, we'd probably be able to make some sort of triangle of like Kuwan beats Ward, and then Ward beats aggro, and then aggro theoretically beats Kuwan. But unfortunately, I don't think all the tools are there, and I think it's going to take a lot of tinkering to make the best Wardhaven deck. And I've tried. There's a lot of really interesting options. One thing, of course, this is the main sort of piece, and this is what everyone looks at. What's the 5 or less you want to flip over? Set 1, there's the 5-mana 5/5 Ward Aura, which is a really cool card, especially in this type of archetype. And even if you don't flip it over and you just play it, it's pretty good against Kuwan. That's kind of it though. You're probably just gonna die if you play a 5/5 against fairy and aggro stuff. But I think the issue with this card is that that's like honestly the only good flip. There's a card later on that's really gimmicky, and honestly, like I wouldn't even really play in the deck because the problem with it is it's too synergy based. I don't think this deck can be too synergy based. Gonna go into some digital talk real quick. Wardhaven has been such a sort of ever present deck in digital since Wilbert has come out, and its problem, and I see this problem happening in physical as well, is that its draw power is almost non-existent. They got one card that was like an insane broken draw card, and then they nerfed it, and it was never good again, But the draw power in this deck is really weak. it's really weak.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I mean, I feel like we're kind of in agreement with this. I'm gonna rate this an A because I think it's just like if you're building this archetype, this is definitely what you're considering. I don't know if I would say it's an S, but it's I think it's just like the good value engine that like you're building Ward Haven. This is what you need to look at in the beginning.
Yeah, I kind of leaning towards B just because I don't even think this is like the second or third best card in this theoretical deck. Like I think this is like the sort of the high the top end, right? This is like
Hmm.
the thing to sort of confirm the win or something like that. You go like Aether into this into something else, like stuff like that. But I I'm leaning more like I don't even think it's necessarily powerful. I just think it's the playmaker. I think I am going to give this a B, but
Yeah.
that's not to say the whole archetype. It's just this specific card in the archetype.
No, yeah, for sure. I'm always biased because I really love value engines like this that have like a really good
Yeah,
payoff for playing a certain archetype. So I always I always highly rate these type of cards. Also, I love gambling.
yeah, yeah. Let's go gambling.
Exactly. So that's always a fun factor for me, at least.
For
All right,
sure, for sure.
all right, moving on here.
All right, next one, Karula Arts Master. 3 mana, 3/3, Evo for 1. At the start of your end phase, if you have at least 2 play points remaining, deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. If you have at least 4, draw a card. And if you have at least 6, select an enemy follower on the field and destroy it. On Evo, at the start of your end phase, you recover 2 play points, and it has the exact same effect as pre Evo. So this card is really interesting because it's the main source of your recovery play points for this archetype they're introducing in this set, where you want to float play points at the end of your turn. My issue with this card is that on its face value, it's 4 mana, the classic 3 mana, 3/3 that evos. So 4 mana, 4/4, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. And then if you have other cards in your hand, you can respond with stuff the next turn. Um, I just I just don't see the universe where you even get to like 6 floating. Because when you're at
Mhm.
6 floating, you have to have the other quick stuff in your hand, and there's just not enough. Like there's good ones, like Acolyte's Light is still an insane card, but you have to have the Acolytes. You probably have to play like Execute. You obviously are playing like Surefire and all the other like good, quick removal. But this card basically does nothing unless you have those other cards in your hand.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said all that because I hard agree that's a lot of the stuff I had issues with this card, and generally when I was uh, theorizing a lot of decks and stuff like that was when you first read this card and you don't really think about it at the surface level, you're like, this card is really cool and it seems like it could be really powerful or have a good payoff. And then you actually play the game and you realize that not only does this card generally have to have other cards to make it good in your hand to respond to things against your opponent, but on top of that, a lot of times too, it's either you're not maximizing your play points that turn to get like these extra effects, and if you want to like maximize that while playing other followers, you got to play the other followers from the last set that do recover play points, which means not only does this card need cards in your hand to respond with, but to get more value, you have to play these other cards onto the board too, which means you need
Yeah.
3 different cards essentially. You need this card, another card on the board, plus a card in your hand to get maximum value off of this card because you need the response. You need another card to like also generate you like some kind of play points or whatever and so forth. This is I guess for lack of a better word right now I can think of, this card is like really cute and I still like this
Yeah.
card. I think it's still relatively powerful for what it does, but it definitely like the first time I read it without thinking, I was like, damn, this card is amazing. And then you get past the surface level and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah. It's also like the dealing 2 damage to enemy leader like doesn't matter in a deck like this because every other part of the equation here in this card is like a control thing. Okay, we're drawing and we're killing something, but then it's like the 2 enemy leader damage is like so bizarre. If this said deal 2 damage to a follower, that'd be sick. That would actually
Yeah,
really save
actually
this card.
it
And it's
would.
just it's almost like it's just the first effect is just useless. It just doesn't do anything because like there's no because you're not really going to be able to play like an aggro Haven with it. Like you're not slotting this into Alice, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I don't know. Maybe actually, I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know. 4 mana. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe some crazy person's gonna do it, but I don't know. I think this card is just bad, unfortunately.
All right. Personally, I'm gonna give it a C, though I can totally see you rating it much worse. I
I know. I think it's a C. I think it's average. Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's average. Yeah, because it's still like it's still a 3 mana 3/3 that evos and like will sometimes have an each one. I do like the idea of it being a really high value card in the late game when you're sort of out of resources, right? Like where it's like, okay, I top deck this card and it's like turn 8, and I'm playing against freaking Abyss, it's ripping
yeah,
cards in my hand. Like that you get a lot of stuff when you just play it on turn 8. Like that's a lot of stuff you're getting. So maybe like looking at it more as a late game card is the way to do it. But again, it's like it's still basically an 8 mana 4/4 kill something, draw a card, deal 2 damage. Like that's not that good. And if you
yeah,
have a quick thing, if this was like other games like I don't know Magic or whatever where you had like quick play a guy, like
yeah.
then I'd be like, okay, we're talking, but that's not how this game works.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that. When you look at this card too, I do feel like this is way more of a late game value card that has like payoffs for like I have quicks in my hand, so I'm going to pass turn only playing this. This
Yeah.
4/4 is my only threat on the board, but in actuality, I have like 3 responses depending on what my opponent does. Then
Yeah.
this card feels really good, and then the games you don't have any responses, you go, God, I hope my opponent doesn't do anything.
One other aspect I was thinking about. Last set we got a card. What was it? Apostle of
uh,
the Abyss card. That's the 4 mana 4/4 that evos for 1 and then deals 3 damage or kills something. And then
oh,
when you pass, if they have 3 or less,
oh, silence,
Apostle
right? Apostle of
of
Silence.
Silence,
Yeah,
Apostle of
yeah.
Silence. Yeah, and that card, I still think that card's pretty bad. But one thing I really like about it that I think they intentionally designed it is so that it doesn't get killed by Surefire. And this
Mhm.
feels like the perfect type of card to go 4 mana 4/4 Evo for 1, recover 3 at the end of your or at the end of your turn. So it's the same thing, but it doesn't die to Surefire. Because this is sick when it lives. Like and I think that's almost what they want. But one of the most relevant cards in the game is Surefire, and not it just dies. It just
Yeah.
there's basically nothing.
All right. On to the next card here. 3-drop, 2/4, Saintly Leader, Ward. Activate, engage this card, banish 3 flowers with the ward in your cemetery, select an enemy flower on the field, and banish it. This card's pretty interesting just because, once again, like we talked about this in the Forest review, but cards that have 4 health and they're not evolved, they're actually kind of annoying to get through sometimes.
Yeah.
This activated engage effect is kind of cool in the sense that late game, this is a top deck card that's not necessarily horrible because at least you're going to hopefully have some wards to banish to be able to just remove a big threat off the board. So, like, this card does seem pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure where I would rate this. This is more of a card where, like, I definitely have to either one, see it in action or play it myself to understand how impactful this card is. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually a really, really good card for the ward archetype. What are your thoughts, Presha?
I really like this card. I think this is a really strong, addition to like a pure ward deck cuz I think one of the other aspects of ward is that you have the Diamond Master from set 3 or 2. Was that set 3 or 2?
I think it
No, it
was
was 3. It
set
was
3.
3.
Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so you see builds of more, aggressively built ward havens where they have the storm, and then you play the Dime Master and you get some of the storm or the ward back and stuff. I don't think this card belongs in that, but if you're building a very sort of pure ward that's more control leaning, I think this
Yeah.
card is insane. I think this is 3 mana 2/4, and you're warding up anyway, right? You're just
Yeah.
gonna ward
Yeah.
up anyway, and then just for free, you just banish anything, which is really strong. The problem is the meta we're going into. There's no like Leo, right? There's no like guy that's like this guy has to die,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
get banished. And so, what is it targeting? It just being like a tempo, hey, I mean, just 3 mana 2/4 on banishing something is still pretty
Mhm.
good. But this would be a really strong card if it was like we're going into a meta where it's like we need to kill this specific thing very fast. If Dark Alice is still running around, maybe like that. That's a really strong out to Dark Alice. But other than that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think one thing to also like reiterate so much about this card, what the reason I think this card is good is because playing this card on curve is good. Playing this card late game is good. There's not really a point in the game where you have this card and you're like disappointed that you drew it or disappointed that you have to play it, because it has two modes of like on curve, we're stopping the aggro opponents from like hitting our face and like slowly like whittling them out of the game. Late game, this is just a 3-drop removal, because you should have, at that point, you should have multiple wards in the grave to be able to banish something else.
Yeah, I could also see this, and I hate not playing 3-ofs of certain cards, but I can definitely see this more as like a tech card, because you're probably not getting this off more than max like twice in a game. Like it's probably not happening a lot, and even like asking for the one is probably like asking for it to banish one thing in a reasonable amount of time might be tough, but asking for you to get 6 wards in the grave and it mattering is pretty hard. So I think this is actually like a really nice tech card. But if you're full ward, I think you just play this guy anyway, because it's still it's a girl, but play this girl anyway because it's just
the payoff is there, so you're in the archetype. But
I'm gonna give this a B. I think
that's actually what I was thinking too. I was like, I think that's the highest I could rate this card. I do like the card. It just I think we said enough about it.
Yeah. All right, Phantom Blade Wielder, 2-mana 2/2, Evo for 1. At the start of your end phase, if you have at least 2 play points remaining, select an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage. And then on evolve, it has that same effect. And then, but when you evolve it, it selects an enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage. This card is really
good.
Strong.
Yes.
This card is so strong. I talked in the Forest set review that the what's her name, the Axe Wielder or something. But it's this exact same card because they're both techless. You're never passing with 2 open most of the time, and even then, it's still like not that good if you pass with 2 open. It is probably one of the strongest like floating effects that you have in the deck. But anyway, but just a early game stop aggression, removal that's on a body that can potentially take 2 guys out. Everything I said about that
just applies to this.
But I think it's even better because Haven does not have a guy like this. Like Force had the Roach when you do the removal part, and they also had like Lily and some of the other early game removal stuff that was really strong. Haven does not have any of that outside of Cudgel, which is very fading out very quickly.
Yeah.
And what was the other card? There's one other card I was thinking about. This card is similar to in Haven, but just this is the most optimal, effective, efficient early game removal Haven has. I think this card's really strong.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. This card is quite annoying. There's like potential upside with the quote unquote blank text, I guess, too, when you do decide to float or you recover the 2 play points and then activate this extra 2 damage as well if you play like the other card along with this. I like this card all around. The first time I read this card, I was impressed. I'm still impressed with the card. So I mean, I think kind of pressure kind of hit everything very well. Personally, I do think this is like an A.
Yeah. I'm giving it an S. Because I think this is just the go-to. Well, I'm playing Haven. I need some sort of removal thing, or I'm playing Haven, and the meta is slightly fast. You're just putting it in the deck. You see it played in Egg. You're gonna see it played in like control decks as well, because then it's not textless. Because in control decks you're gonna be able to go, hey, I'm holding Surefire up as well, and I'm killing 2 things. Stuff like that. I think
Absolutely,
this is an S. Yeah, it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at the end of this meta. I'm like, this should have been an S, not an A. But
I don't know.
I'm chilling at an A right now. I'm happy where it is. So
I wish this said Ward.
I've been playing the Ward deck for sure.
Yeah.
All right, moving on here. Manifest Devotion. It's a 5-drop spell. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. From among them, you may put up to 1 amulet that originally costs 5 or less play points, and up to 1 amulet that originally costs 3 or less play points onto their field. Put the remaining cards onto the bottom of your deck in any order. This is more amulet support. I wish this said 6 instead, just so I could cheat Seraph out.
Oh, the Seraph, yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, I mean, what are we really hitting here? Especially with the 5. Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's like the balance. I know the 5-drop balance card is a card. I don't know. I'm not super impressed with this card at all. Maybe pressure can change my mind.
Yeah, I'm not gonna change your mind, but the best possible flip. I almost don't want to give this. It's not even tech because it's so bad. But the best possible flip is you flip over 2 engineers from TF2. You flip over 2 sentry gates. I think that's actually really strong. That's the best thing that this card can do, and I'm not even joking. Like everything else sucks. Like you can go like, cause what are the 5s? Like we're gonna talk about another 5 here soon, but it's not that good.
The only one I'm thinking of is like
the old Century.
Yeah, comes into play. Yeah, or that one, or the isn't there the 5-drop? I don't know if it's called Counterbalance or whatever it's called. It comes into play, destroy something, and then crack it, draw a card. Yeah, which is like that's like the only card that comes to mind. That's like okay, like that's a really good payoff for this card, and then maybe you get like another random 3-drop. That's cool, but yeah.
Arya's still really strong. I still really like Arya, or Beast Call Arya.
Yeah.
Like like if you flip over Tribunal and Arya, like that's pretty good for 5. You know, I think that's almost it though. Like there's just nothing else. And it's also like you have to hit it. Like you have to have a high density of amulets. Now hold on. What if we flip over Tea Time and Alice Adventure? Like, actually, that's pretty good. That's actually pretty strong.
Why are you putting that out there into the world, pressure?
I'm just looking at the cards. I was like, what are the best amulets? And Tea Time is the best amulet in the game. Actually, not that bad. Like, thinking about it even more, like, if you play, like, a slower Alice Haven and you're playing... Like, let's say you throw in, you throw this in, you're keeping the Adventure, you're keeping the Tea Time, you throw in Gate, you throw in Tribunal, and you're just sort of going for, like, the full egg combo and Tid Soldier combo instead of the sort of aggro game plan. I could maybe see, this card being good.
At the same time, though, talking about that, this is like a 1-of.
Yeah, that's true.
As much as we hate 1-ofs, it feels like this is the type of card, because like this is like an insane top deck after you've discarded your entire hand to egg and you double hit on this. You're just like,
it is.
Mole. You going, but well, yeah.
I mean, maybe like a Candelabra deck comes back and you just are playing all amulets. And it's just like no matter what you hit, it's good. Because like it is sort of no matter what you hit, it's pretty high value because you're getting 8 mana worth of stuff, optimally. One card I think that I really underrated last set was the Ancient Amplifier, which was the 3 mana summon a Mystic Artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you flip over any combo of like Tribunal, the Mystic Artifact, the Ancient Amplifier, stuff like that, maybe even like you go Ancient Protector as well, and you have the Candelabra, you have from 2 sets ago the Globe of the Starway, so you're searching your amulets as well. The issue is you probably just die to aggro, right? Like I don't know how you defeat fairies. But I don't know. I like talking it through. There's actually more applications than I thought, and it checks 7, which I love. It's not check 5 or 4. 7 is a really high chance to hit some good stuff. So I don't know. Talking about it more, I kind of want to give it like a C. I was gonna give it an F.
I was also going to give it an F, but after talking this out a little bit more, it does almost feel like this could be a C card. I'm gonna err on the side of caution because I'm gonna still give it a D. You could at least I got out of the F range already. I feel like that's really big.
I think I'm gonna give it a C because I think I could see a Control Haven deck working that is like one we've never seen before, where it's like we're playing amulets, we're playing maybe some float stuff, and we're trying to flip over, our just value stuff, our tribunals, our ancient amplifiers, um, our globes. Like if you flip over a tribunal globe, like that's pretty strong. Um,
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as you're getting at least minimum 5 play points worth of value, this
yeah,
card is just like a draw to immediately play those cards to the board. Otherwise,
exactly.
yeah, otherwise you get to cheat out some extra value because you high roll into the 5 and the 3 cost, and then
Yeah,
instead you get 8 play points worth of power on turn 5. But
yeah,
obviously, I think at that point you're definitely building towards that a little bit more in your strategy, and it definitely feels more of like a control card, or like kind of what Pressure stumbled upon basically was like, I could see this as a one of in a Fable deck for the top deck rip into like the high roll.
yeah, yeah. The other really strong card is the Knight's Way from set 4. Knight's Way is a really
Oh
strong
yeah,
card
yeah,
off
yeah.
that too.
That's
Just a
not bad
draw
too.
engine. So we'll see. I'm sure people will cook with this. I'm sure we're gonna see it a little bit, but
Yeah.
probably not enough to defeat the Forest Menace. But
Yep. All right, moving on here.
all right, it's me, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy Lancer, 5 mana, 3/4, evolve for 1, ward. Fanfare, if there's another follower with ward on your field, select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 3 damage. And then Evo, it selects an enemy follower on the field and deals it 4 damage. I actually don't think this card is that good. I think this card is too synergy based for the archetype. Where, yes, I mean, technically your entire deck is wards, but also this is 6 mana and it's just removal and it does nothing else, and the stats are not that good. Once you start hitting turn 6, turn 5, you're starting to get into range of the deck killer itself, the Crimson Storm from Rune, where it's just like, if you're not a freaking 7 health guy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think I don't even think this is that good of a flip over Wilbert either, because you have to either be losing because you're going second, or you're going first, so you have to like wait a turn to account for the fact that Holy Lancer has to evolve. Because if you don't evolve it, this card sucks. This card's just awful. Um, so I don't know. I actually don't think it's that good, and I don't even think it really belongs in the deck, to be honest, because it just happens too late. Like 3
Yeah.
and 4 damage is just not fast enough. You're
Yeah.
already dead.
Yeah, I hard agree. This is obviously when they built this archetype in Evolve, they clearly wanted this to be played with Wilbert, but I'm on the same thing. I think the fact that it almost only feels like this card is good if you hit off Wilbert, because a lot of times, even if you have this card, you have to already have another word on the board for the Fanfare to have really good value. So if we're gonna I feel like if we're gonna have a requirement of having another follower on the board with ward, the payoff should be a little bit more. I don't know why they just chose 3 damage arbitrarily or whatever for
Yeah.
this. I feel like it deserved to do more if you had another ward on the board. That way you were even more incentivized to play this with Wilbert. But I think Pressure kind of hit everything on the nose there. The damage is not enough. You need to wait an extra turn or be going second, and you're probably losing the race then in general from just going second in this meta. And then the Evo side doesn't really have a really great payoff either. Just do 4 damage. So like in total, like the maximum you're going to get out of this is 7. Like that's cool. You got to remove maybe one thing off the board, and that, or maybe even 2. I guess ideally it would be 2 for the
Yeah.
best value. But drawing this card feels horrible probably.
Yeah.
And like the high quote unquote high roll for this card is mediocre at best. So yeah.
Yeah. I think this card being bad, like this specific extra 5-drop ward that we can flip over with Wilbert being bad, makes pure Ward Haven really hard to see for me. I
Yeah.
was talking about how in Wilbert, when we were talking about Wilbert, it's like, hey, you can maybe do a pure ward. I think the fact that this card sucks is not good for that archetype, and I think you have to start looking towards the Diamond Master, towards the a more aggressively, built Ward Haven.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
I'm gonna give it a D.
Ooh. Yeah. Man, no. No, I'm giving this crap an F. It's a D when you play with
Really?
Wilbert.
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. I mean, I'm also thinking the fact that like in Haven you have access to like Aether, so it can just be like a hey, oh my god, no, it is an F. You know why? I just had this thought. It's worse than John. It's like so much
Yes,
worse than
it
John.
is.
It's so much worse than John. Because I was just
Ooh.
thinking, like, wait, why are we flipping or getting John from the Aether? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, no. This card, yeah, this is an F. This is an F. Yeah, this is an F. This is an F.
Oh
Oh
man.
man.
All right. Boost kicker, 2-drop, 2/2. At the start of your end phase, recover 1 play point. Fanfare, X play points. Deal X damage to each enemy far on the field. I guess I don't know why I didn't say it, but X equals the number of play points that you use for this card. This card is insane. This is like an easy S for me. I don't know if you have another reason not for it to be S, Pressure, because just like this is, I guess, early game, if you're playing this, on turn 2, especially going first, you recover a play point. You can now, as like in a control deck, you have access now to snipe and stuff, which is kind of cool. But late game, top decking this card at least clears the board. You like drop this for 8, and like you're like, okay, I'm safe for another turn. Well, how do you feel about this
Yeah,
card?
it's really hard because it's like I think this card is really strong. I just don't think it's enough because like let's think about, you know, forest, and we're not even going to do the high roll where they just hit the dragon, right? Let's
Yeah,
just say they go turn 1 fairy circle, turn 2 they play Blessed Fairy Dancer. This still sounds like a high roll, but let's just go through it. Turn 3, they play out their 3 goblins from the EX area. So now if you're going first, you get to go boost kicker for 4, clear the board except for the Blessed Fairy Dancer, and you have to have the angel shoot in hand, angelic snipe in hand, and then the next turn you just have to hope they don't have a good follow up, and this guy's still a 2/2, and he does basically nothing after that. And my issue is that that's like on the low roll, and that's also assuming you're going first.
yeah.
So if you go second, he does nothing. He does not save you in that matchup. Like because you're going second, that exact same curve happens, and he's only doing one. He's only doing one AoE. So you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to stop this on turn 3? The answer is you're not going to because the deck is stupid. But I don't even think he like saves the bad matchups because he scales like if everything just scales low health, then he's sick, but he's still even like you still have to wait till turn 4. Like you still have to wait till turn 4 to hit the average 2 health stuff. Force is going to have a lot of 3 health things, just 3 health like, fighter bodies and stuff. And then in the late game he's cool, but in the late game you're dead. So I don't know. I like him
So
as idea, but I don't know. I don't think in practice he's that good.
all right, let me see if I can sell you a little bit on this
Yeah.
as well. So Jean is such a huge, impactful turn 6 play a lot of the times. I guess technically sometimes turn 5, depending if you go second. This saves you Evo spots if you need it. I mean, obviously, I still think if you're playing control, you're going to play some amount of Jeans. But this is like another Jean in your deck. On like 6, you can play this, and it'll clear usually most boards you have to deal with, right? Because you're paying 6 for this. You deal 4 to everything on the board, and then you're just kind of being chilling from there. That's how I feel like it. This is like a card that will save you an Evo slot if you want to be greedy with your Evos as well. That's why I really, really like this card. But maybe I'm overvaluing that.
Well, because okay, for the John example, I don't think this guy can really replace John at all. I think the best possible he can be is 4th, 5th, and 6th copy of John that you just need more board clear options, which is
Mhm.
true and could be applicable. But I think the reason John is so powerful is that she's a really well statted body,
4/5, yeah,
and
that doesn't die to
she just
Surefire.
has
Yep.
the snowball effect. She
Mhm.
has the snowball of if anything lived, it's gonna live even harder,
Yeah, yeah.
on your side of the field. The other fact is that she can go deal 4, swing into something that's high, like into a Spinaria board. You can go clear their board, and then you have to swing into the Spinaria that's probably a 4/6 or something, maybe even
Yeah.
5/7. This guy cannot do that.
Mhm.
And I think the reason I'm just down on him is that he just misses too many of the key numbers on turns in this meta. I think maybe he's good against um freaking Agrobis, maybe.
Yeah.
But again, it's still just like as like that deck scales with health as the turns go on. This guy scales with health as the turn goes on, but he has to start at 2. He gets like a 2-turn demerit almost, right? Because
Mhm.
when he hits 3 health, it's turn 5 and there's already 4 and maybe even 5 health things on the opponent's board, and that's just how that just doesn't really work out. Um, so I don't know. It's hard. I wish this guy had rush. Like if he was
Oh, if it had
this
rush,
and then rush, then
it'd be insane
I'd
in
be
my
a little more
opinion. But
sold.
yeah.
Or even more if he's just like a fighter. Like if he was just a 2-mana 2/3, um, I could see it. I just think the math ain't mathin', as they say. I think the math ain't mathin'.
Yeah.
It's
I,
still again fourth,
Mhm.
fifth, and sixth copy of John, so it's pretty good. What were you gonna say?
I just do want to say though, like I also don't think this is a card necessarily depending on the meta. You probably never play this as a 3 of. I feel like you are right in the sense that it is like probably the fourth and fifth copy of Jean. It's just more access to board wipes, and this is like a one-sided board wipe in this case at least, because a lot of times there are board states where you're like, crap, I just have to just Themis the board because I can't deal with
Yeah,
everything, and this
yeah,
feels a little less worse than just Themising.
yeah.
Yeah, and then yeah, I don't know. I just really like this card, but yeah, go ahead, rate away,
I mean,
Precious.
there's definitely metas. I mean, you bring that up. I mean, there's definitely metas where this guy's like better than Themis. Like maybe
Mhm.
that is a meta we're going into. Um, so I can see that. I also think like he's really good in Ward Haven because probably their guys are going to be like chip damage from just having to swing into the wards.
Wards, yeah, that makes sense.
Um, I'm gonna give him a B. I'm gonna give him a B. Maybe that's too harsh. Maybe I'll be wrong. But to me, the math just ain't mathin', and I just don't see Dex getting to the late game enough where him doing 5 saves you or whatever.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I
Uh,
totally understand that.
yeah.
Respectable. I'll respect that response. Moving on here. I think
All
this is
right.
you. Yep.
Feather Sanctuary, 5 mana. Summon a Holy Falcon token, which is the 2 mana 2/2 storm, or 3 mana 2/2 storm. Activate, engage this card, put an amulet on your field into your cemetery, summon a Holy Falcon token. This is a confusing card. This is just a weird card. I don't, what do they want us to do with this? What do
Okay.
they want us to do with this?
This almost reads like this card was like built like for digital, because the thing about destroying your own amulets in digital is the effect goes off once
Oh
the amulet
god.
gets destroyed, right? But in this game,
Yeah.
that's not how that works at all.
Bro, Feather
Oh.
Sanctuary popping hands off, I cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you might be right. I mean, maybe this is the Shadowverse Worlds Beyond that basically doesn't fucking exist anymore. Design, and they said, "Oops, it's in Evolve." I just really don't know what they want us to do, because there's no amulets in this game that like don't want to be tapped and do the effect, right? Like
Yeah.
if there was Death Rattle or Last Words amulets,
Though I think the one amulet I could see is like you PTP and then play this to get rid of your PTP because it's taking up space. Like,
well then this thing takes up space.
I know.
PTP is a more relevant effect going into the next meta.
Okay, to be fair, you could target itself, right? Because it doesn't say that. It just pick. It says pick an amulet. Put an amulet on
Yeah.
your field. Yeah. So I
Okay.
mean,
Well. Okay. Okay. Actually, that's 5 mana summon 2/2 storms. It's actually not that bad. Actually, okay, wait. Actually, that's not that bad at all, is it? 5 mana, summon 2/2 storms. It's basically like, um, what was the card we looked at? The better monkey, mallet
oh
monkey.
yeah,
Was that
Mallet
what his
Monkey.
name was?
Hey, I think so. I don't
Um,
remember.
yeah. It's like a better mallet monkey. I'm trying to look at Diamond Master because like she like buffs. Choose a no. That's only engrave. What are the other like storm
There's
buffers?
that
Yeah. The
Falcon,
Ruby
right?
Falcon. The
Yeah, Ruby
Falcon. The
Falcon.
Falcon.
Mhm.
So if you have the Falcon on board from last turn, um, and you go crack this and you're doing 6 damage? Like, huh, it's like,
That
maybe?
that's not bad, but also I feel like the Falcon living across turn, you probably were winning that game anyway.
That's true, that's definitely true, that's definitely true.
I think at least on the bright side for this card, as like I still think it's kind of bad. It's nice that it's self-sustaining, so you don't technically you don't really need anything else on the board to like get the double Falcons out.
Yeah.
But I also feel like when they made this card, they kind of wanted it to be some kind of value engine, but also with the way Emmett's working this game, it just doesn't work out that way at all. So,
Yeah,
ooh, this card with Kaguya, you can blow up her own amulet after swinging
that's
with
actually pretty
Kaguya.
relevant.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wait, do
but
you even have board space? Because it's like this, and then Kaguya bring a card out. The Falcon, I guess, is dead because you did it last turn. Wait, can Kaguya bring this card out? Is it 5 or less? Wait, no, it's
Kaguya's 3 or less.
right?
I'm talking
Yeah.
magical Christmas land here when
Yeah,
it comes.
yeah. And then your board's full of yeah. I don't know, yeah. I don't know. I think you just look at this as 5 mana summon 2/2
Yeah,
storm.
get two
Not
storms.
like the worst thing
It's
in
not-
the world.
It's not horrible. I'm in the F range because I think if this card's actually going to be good, it's going to definitely have like a very focused deck on, or
Yeah.
maybe if this is like a card where it's going to be garbage now, but 10 sets from now they accidentally print a card that's like when this amulet gets destroyed, do something. You have to play
10
this.
sets from now, we're milling 40 cards on 3 with Spartacus because we cheated a bit or something.
You're right.
10 sets from now, we're losing on turn 3. We're already losing on turn 3 with Vanguard or whatever the hell they're playing.
Listen, we're partly losing on turn 2 here with the fairy dragon sometimes.
That's true. No, you're right. Actually true. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next card here. 2-drop 2/2 Winged Staff Priestess. Ward, last word, search your deck for a Winged Staff Priestess, reveal it and add it to your hand. These type of like cards, I kind of like their effects, but also I hate them because I'm forced to play multiple copies of them. And this particular card itself is not, in my opinion, is not very, very powerful. I guess if you just need the extra wards and this is all you have really left for you, then maybe this is like okay, your ward only Haven deck. But outside of that, I think this card is like pretty ass. I don't know if you have a different opinion, Presha.
I think this card's really strong. I think this is the second best ward card, actually.
Really?
So,
tell me more.
The reason why is because this solves one of the major issues that we talked about at the beginning of this video is the draw and the consistency. This basically makes it so you're playing a 38 card deck and you're never going to get like blown out by like Control Abyss, right? Like because this card basically means you always have one card in hand and this will just always refill itself. I also love that it's an early game card. It's a 2/2. You can basically think of this as like Goblin and then you're spending the 1 more mana to draw another Goblin, little flimsy logic, but basically, and it's also just in an archetype that wants to be doing this where they want to be filling the board with these guys, making it so it's hard for them to kill you. I also think that the fact that it's a 2/2 ward, there is a lot of things that are going to have to swing into it and will die to this, right?
Yeah.
And you just go, hey, ward, swing your goblin in. I basically heal 2 and I get another guy. Thins my deck. Makes it so that my Wilberts will be flipping over stuff I want to flip over and not, not this guy, right? You don't want to flip this guy over, Wilbert. But it's also like this deck doesn't have a good 2-drop ward before this as well.
But it has the best ward ever, Snake Priestess.
That's 1 mana.
But still the best ward ever.
So that's the best. That's the best card. I mean, I love. I love.
I know.
Yeah. But unless I'm blanking, there's no other real 2-drop wards, right? Am I tripping or?
Oh man, I thought
Amethyst Leo
we saw a 3-drop.
synergizes. The Amethyst Leo like synergizes with it, but it's a storm and buffs a ward. There might be like a starter deck ward that's like unplayable.
Possibly,
but anyway, I actually think this card's really strong. I think this is the second best ward card because it's the Um, I called Wilbert like the playmaker. This is the card that's going to get open. If we want to use like
Mhm.
football terminology, whatever. Like this is your guy, and it's just going to make the deck more consistent. Because you're just playing these early game things that you just need to develop the board, and then hey, when it dies, you just get rewarded by thinning your deck and drawing more just backup things, just
Yeah.
backup, wards. So I'm gonna give this an A. Actually, maybe I'm like really overrating it. I just think this is just a really strong idea for this deck that lacks
Yeah. To
card
be
draw.
fair, you did convince me a little. You said a lot of words in there that I love to hear when I think about cards. So you kind of convinced me at least to like playtest this card a little bit more. I
Mm,
originally was going to give this like a D, but I think I'm going to bump it up to a C just because of the way you spoke about the card. Definitely, it hit the words I like to hear. Consistency for Wilbert, drawing an extra
yeah,
card, things like that. I'm willing to try this out at the very least. So I'll bump it up to a C for that, because I think I do at some point want to like really heavily test out a Wardhaven deck. So I need to
yeah.
keep these things in mind as well. So
I think another aspect is the fact that you just the like I was kind of talking about, like there is really just a low amount of good wards, and this is one of the good wards in the game. Like you just when you're playing a Ward Haven deck, you just have to put wards in. And some of them should not even be
suboptimal,
in the
but
deck.
yeah,
And this one is definitely one that is to me just an auto include. I think this is just like a hey, I'm making a Ward Haven deck. I'm just throwing this in as 3 of because I'm playing a 37, 38 card deck.
yeah.
And,
Before we move on, I want to ask: is this a card you either play 0 or 3 of, or do you think there's room to like be like, yeah, this is okay as a 2 of?
I think it's 0-3 because it's like
Yeah,
the power of this card is that like the last one you play is gonna be the bad one, right? Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
last one you play is gonna be the wow, this card sucks.
yeah.
You know. So yeah, I think it's 0-3. I could see 0, but I'd be shocked if that's optimal. But we'll see.
All right, moving on here.
Gravity Grappler, 3 mana, 3/3. At the start of your end phase, if you have at least 2 play points remaining, summon a Mystic Artifact token. This card is like I really am trying to like remove the digital, because this guy was absurd in digital. This guy was a menace. Basically did the same thing, but he had another effect where if he had 1 mana left, he summoned an Analyzing Artifact, which was the 2/1 that drew a card if it died. So it's really easy to just go, okay, play this on 4, and you just get. So now
Yeah,
that he has to float 2, and you get the Mystic Artifact, which is still good. The Mystic Artifact is the 3 mana, 2/3 ward draw card on play. Is that good enough? I think no, because he's not affecting the board on the turn he comes down, right? And
yeah,
you have to get lucky to like have, what's his name? Karula, live. Because it's like how else are you floating the 2 on 3? You have to have Karula live, I guess. Or you have like 2 boost kickers, maybe. That can't even work. But so I don't know. I don't think this guy's good. I don't think this guy's good.
yeah.
It's a good draft card.
Yeah. It's this card is a bit awkwardly weird. I think the fact that it's the 2 play points remaining makes it like very awkward, because like you're playing this on 5 and not playing anything else, and like maybe you hold up a surefire bullet. You do get the draw, which is nice, but like you said, I think one of the big impactful things about the more and more I've been playing Shadowverse Evolve is that you have to play against your board. You can't just like play for these super value plays like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just give your opponent control of the game, and once that happens, you're just playing their game until you lose the game. So
Yeah. Alas.
yeah.
I think I'm gonna do D though, because like I could see just going.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree. It's like not a horrible card, and I think if someone did play this card and had like a good thing around it, it's probably going to be very powerful. But it's also like it has to 100% find the right home.
I just thinking about this a little bit. Like, is he? He's actually pretty good in Control Haven. I think, right? Because it's like you
Yeah, for sure.
go,
You get value. You put bodies on the board. You have a ward in Control Haven, and then you keep up play points, which is nice. So
yeah,
this makes sense in Control Haven. But I think outside of that, it's just like it's pretty rough. Even though this card on the top left hand corner says three costs three, it actually costs, or like it's not a card
like
you
5.
generally play on three anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, alas.
All right. Me, right?
Yeah.
All right, Barrage Brawler. This is a 1-drop 0/1. Evolve, discard a card, evolve this follower. At the start of your end phase, if you have at least 2 play points remaining, select the enemy leader and deal it 1 damage. On the evolve side, at the start of your end phase, if you have at least 2 play points remaining, select an enemy leader, deal 1 damage. And then on evolve, recover 2 play points and it becomes a 1/2. I mean, this.
It becomes a 1/2? For some reason, I thought it was a 1/3.
Oh, if it was a 1/3, I think this card would be actually okay-ish. But I we have to discard a card. I guess we go up on play points on our from this, right? By discarding a card, we gain a play point. We gain the cost for this card and a play point back, right?
Yeah.
So you do kind of like go up on value that way, which is kind of interesting. This is definitely like a type of card, like at the end phase thing that like doesn't really matter. You can't even target enemy units with this, right? You can't hit followers, so you're just like pinging your opponent for 1 randomly. So this is definitely a card I have to like play with to really understand its full power. I'd have to guess this card is like pretty mediocre unless there's like certain combos that's like you get this out, discard a card to set up something in your discard pile to bring back later, something like that. Because we're not playing what's the discard card that draws your card? Trail. We're not playing Trail right here, so
Maybe.
all right.
All right, go ahead.
No. I mean that's it. Like I don't really have much
Okay.
more to say about this unless you have some crazy
This
tech
is-
here.
I mean, the use for this card is it's the out of hand activator for Karula, for the Gravity Grappler, even for like the focus, which we'll get to. The issue is it's just that effect is not worth 2 cards, because it's the card you discard and this piece of shit card that's in your hand, like
Yeah.
it's just not worth it. It honestly, like, it should have just evolved for 0 and been a 0/1. Like I don't know why they thought, whoa, if they hit the trifecta of they have 3 Gravity Grapplers on the field and they play this and they summon 3. Wait, no, that wouldn't even work because your board's full. Yeah, you summon 1. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They tried to make this the like activator card, but it doesn't work. It's just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this card just sucks.
It's sad too because in this game, when you hit your maximum play points, even if you recover play points past your maximum play points, you won't be able to go over your current max play points, right?
Yeah,
So
that'd be problematic.
yeah, it would 100% be problematic. But like in those scenarios, if that wasn't the case, then this card would actually probably find some type of home because then you could cheat. You can cheat something out one turn early.
Yeah, I actually think that would be like unironically the best card in the game. Like I think that would actually like break the game because if you go turn 1, play this, and then you play 2 goblins and you have a 1/2 and 2/2.
Dude,
I think that's
Haven would have the sickest aggro deck ever. That's all.
That wouldn't be sick. That wouldn't be sick. That wouldn't be sick. We're talking about Fairy Dragon, and then Haven does that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that'd be sick, but
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Maybe
here.
you could just do the same thing on turn 2. I don't know. Bad, yeah. All right. Holy Counterattack. Quick 1 mana. This card can't be played during your turn. Select an engaged enemy follower on the field and deal it 2 damage. If there's a follower with ward on your field, deal 4 damage instead. This is the best ward card in the game. This is probably the best Haven card in this set. This card is absurd. This card is like borderline broken in my opinion. In the history of this game, not even talking about digital, but in the history of this game, what is the most frustrating, annoying removal card in the entire game? It's Blazing Breath. Blazing Breath just is so silly, right? Now, imagine Blazing Breath, but the requirements are less because you just have to have a guy on the field, basically. And it does 4 before turn 7. You know, this card is so strong. It's strong in like every type of Haven outside of like Fable Haven, but you know that's its
Yeah.
own. You know, that's in literally Alice in Wonderland. You know, um, this card's just really strong because worst case scenario, it's a Jellicite. You know, that's the worst case scenario, and a lot of times, like one thing that comes up a lot in this game for me when I think about turns and stuff is the fact that you're never really rewarded for waiting to play your like quick thing on the opponent's turn. Like say they have a Gobble on the field and it's like turn 3 and you have 1 play point remaining. There's no reason to not just kill it there because things can happen. Like it can just get buffed, or they can play the greatest card in the game, Wind God, you know, and buff it, and then it's like, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
The in reality though, it never matters because it's just like they're just gonna swing with the first thing you're gonna do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this card is good because at the same time, there's no reason not to play a card on your turn, but there's also not a reason to wait, you know. Um, this card can't be played during your turn, does not matter. Is basically, you know, what that is what I'm saying there. But just 1 mana deal 4 is just like broken. I mean, it's just broken. It's just really strong. This does kill. You know who? Actually, no, it doesn't because he's not going to be engaged unless the guy just
Yeah.
has a brain fart,
The Pegas, yeah.
or you do the barrage brawler, play 2 goblins, and they say I'm going to die. I'm gonna die if I don't war. And then you do that, but
Oh
no,
man. Yeah.
I think that is the one sort of scary thing, but it is just like you're gonna be doing it on things that are trying to swing anyway. You know, like it's
Yeah.
probably rare that you're going to not, you know, be doing that. I think this is the one card that saves Wardhaven. I think this card is uber strong. I think this card is super strong.
I agree all around. I think this is like the main when you're playing Ward Haven, especially just this is like one of the big payoffs for playing Ward Haven because a lot of times if you've noticed when looking at a lot of the wards is that their attacks are a bit lower and usually make it up by having more health because they're just like supposed to be a fat ward. So this makes it so that you can trade more favorably into things while also having a ward. I think the one thing to note about this card is that if you only have 1 follower on the board, your opponent can technically play around this card by using something else to remove the follower, then swinging with the thing that you would have removed with 4 play points. That's like the only quote unquote downside to this card, I feel like, is when you only have literally 1 card that activates this into the deal 4 damage thing, and you need it to deal 4 damage that turn. But outside of that, this card is very, very powerful. It just reads very, very powerful. Like you said, worst case scenario, it is a snipe.
Yeah.
And we already know snipe is good, so.
Yeah. I think it's S+.
Ooh, S plus that good. Oh,
I think it's the best Haven card. I think it's the best Haven card in this set, easily. I don't think there's a single one that even gets close. I think maybe the Phantom Blade Wielder, but this is Phantom Blade Wielder, but like way easier to use, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. All right, we're on to our last card here. Focus is a 0 play point quick. This card can't be played during your turn. If you have at least 2 play points, give your leader +1 health and draw a card. I personally like this card a lot when you play into obviously the whole recover play point stuff. And this also, Kula, is that what this guy's name is? I always forget. Yeah. Karula, yeah. This obviously is played with the guy. I think this card is relatively powerful overall. I mean, who doesn't want to heal 1 and draw a card, and it just costs nothing on your turn? And like the only downside really is this card can't be played during your turn, which is kind of annoying. But the fact that every time you draw this and hopefully you're playing into the archetype that you have 2 play points left over because you have things to respond to, which is like, for example, your opponent swings in, you can immediately focus, draw a card. Oh, I top decked the answer. Here's my Surefire. Or even still, if you have Surefire in hand anyway, you can do this, draw a card, heal 1, and then use your Surefire in hand to remove it. Remove the follower that's swinging in, and then go down from 2 play points to 0. This card, in a way, adds extra consistency to the deck because like you're probably playing this to 2 to 3 of, which means your deck is like a 37, 38 card deck at that point, right? That's where the real value from this card comes from. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I just don't think it's like that. Like that makes it like too good because it's basically I don't know. Like it's floating to is just not valuable yet. Like we haven't seen a card where it's like I guess the grappler, like the grappler's the best like float 2 thing. Yeah, Karula, you don't care about dealing 2 damage. The card from last set, the priest or the disciple of I'm blanking on all the names of the things, but the repose, the disciple apostle repose.
Yeah.
Like she's just gonna give you the 2 play points, so it's like okay, cool. I just have this. Like you said, it's just 37 cards in the deck, which is strong, which is really strong for a control deck. Um you just like have to build your deck in a way that I think is inherently weak, where you just have to float a bunch of stuff. And I just think floating a bunch of stuff is just not good enough,
Mhm.
because like Surefire, and again, I don't want to like be harping on this, but Surefire does not kill the fairy dragon. Like this does nothing against force. Like it does not kill the fairy dragon. Like if you go like ward, because then you have to be on turn 3, right? Because if you go like Stake Priestess, pass with 2, you can focus and then do the holy counterattack. But then it's like that's 3, and they already, hopefully you're going first. I don't know. It's good in the fact that it's just 37 cards in the deck.
Yeah. The big thing for this card is like I'm not rating this card like an S because I think this card is powerful for what it does, but it definitely requires almost a build around for. Like it slots into certain archetypes or certain game plans well, and then other game plans, there's like, why would you even look at this card? I very much do like this card. I'm just gonna go ahead and rate it B in my opinion.
I think B is pretty good.
Yeah. But this was one of the few cards in Haven when I read, I was like, wow, this card is actually a bit interesting. It makes you think about how you build your deck, because I do think what this card provides is relatively powerful. And also, anytime I see a quick +1 heal 1, I always think of Elena and how I can abuse that a little bit someday. It always pops in my head. True. Yeah, but
yeah. I think we need to put Elena, put the deck down.
Listen, I want to put it down, but they print cards like this to me, like, maybe there's a way to play Elena, but honestly, there's no way to play Elena.
I don't know what city in the middle of the Wyoming you're playing.
Listen, I only have one person at my locals, and I beat him every week, and that's myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. All right. That wraps up everything here. Here are some Twitter handles to follow. Shepard isn't here, so make sure not to follow him because he's banished away. But
insane.
Hey, he lied about the results of our poll, right? You clearly won.
He thought he had me, and my boys pulled through. My guys, they said Justice. I hope we need to pull up with the Elven Sentry in Grand Showdown for real. I need them Dodger tickets.
We're gonna do it, I believe.
Yeah.
Don't worry, day of, I'll show you my decking. I'm gonna tell you, take one card out right now before I summon my deck list. All right. For those that made it to the end, thank you so much for listening along or watching along. I hope you guys enjoyed this Havencraft set review for set 6. Thank you so much, Pressure, for joining as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
And then make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. It helps with the channel, helps motivate us to do stuff and things like that. But yeah, we're leaving now. Hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Later, everyone.
Bye-bye.